OBX Wave Report. I am Robert Scribbler, your reporter on all things waves, weather, climate, and beach lifestyle. And today I did get out to Jeanette's Pier this morning to get a observation. Right now we are approaching the noon hour, but I did want to show you some of the surf at Jeanette's Pier. So I'm just going to play this video in the background. We had three surfers off Jeanette's Pier, some nice 1 to 2 foot waves rolling in, maybe a little bit bigger, and surfers catching some nice little rides here in the brilliant morning at Jeanette's Pier just about an hour, maybe an hour and a half ago when I did this observation. Right now, conditions are very warm here in the Outer Banks. Temperatures in the upper 60s, touching the 70-degree mark. I did see a couple of people on the beach just wearing shorts and no shirt. So kind of surprising since a front has just passed, but we have this lingering warmth. And even though strong northwest winds are blowing, we still have warm airs, and the winds are coming out of the northwest now at between say around 20 to 27, 28 miles an hour. So very strong winds out of the northwest, helping to hollow out those waves that you see. All right, so that's a little quick video there of the surf at Jeanette's Pier, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the weather picture. We're advancing the satellite shot to now, this satellite shot provided by NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And we see that the front has passed offshore. There's still a storm system here up off the northeast, providing some winter weather for the northeast. And then behind the front, we have these westerly and northwesterly winds sweeping in and bringing in cooler air. And throughout the day today, in the Outer Banks, it's likely to cool down quite a bit, although we do have these brilliant clear skies and bright sun shining. So just a beautiful day overall, despite the wind coming in from the west. Out west, we've got some more disturbed weather coming in and some snowy weather across the northern tier. Looking at the National Weather Service radar, I'm just going to make sure that everything is up to date. We still have small craft advisories up on the Outer Banks for the Northeast. We've got some winter weather and some wintry weather here in Wisconsin and Illinois, just west of the Great Lakes, as well as some stormy weather for the U.S. West Coast, although not looking as intense as it was over recent days. Now, looking forward, looking at NOAA's quantitative prediction forecast, it does give us an indication of where the storms are likely to form over the United States over the coming week. And it does appear that we're expecting to see some pretty intense rain and snow for parts of central California on northward for the US West Coast. This, as a trough in the jet stream, brings a progression of storms toward the west coast. We've also got a hot spot for severe weather formation here in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, parts of Missouri, Tennessee, Alabama, and Mississippi. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And then off the US East Coast, we do have a tendency for nor'easter formation. Getting down to our local observations, I did provide you guys with a video of stuff going on down at Jeanette's Pier earlier today, just about an hour and a half ago. And getting on down to Jeanette's Pier right now, I'll give you a complete summary of conditions. Waves are in the range of 1 to 2 foot. We've got those strong northwest winds hollowing out the waves, blowing spray off the top, but nonetheless rideable, as you saw in the video that I presented to you guys just a few moments ago. Primary swell coming in at 10 seconds, secondary swell coming in at 9 seconds. Winds 27 miles per hour out of the west northwest. Very strong winds blowing offshore there out of the west northwest. Air temperatures right now in the range of about 66 to 68 degrees, so still pretty warm right now. Ocean water temperatures 52 degrees, and those air temperatures expected to be falling throughout the day as sunny conditions dominate. So we've probably already hit our high of around 68. Heading south to Avon, we're just going to go south. It is worth noting that actually we do have some beaches up here in Kill Devil Hills that are getting a little bit of a larger swell in the range of 2 to 3 foot. So I just did want to note that. And then heading on south down to Rodanthe, we also have 2 to 3 foot waves and Avon as well. So I'm going to provide you guys with a complete observation at Avon, waves in the range of 2 to 3 feet, with a primary swell coming in at 9 seconds, secondary swell at 10 seconds. We got a south swell there at Avon. The swell is 5.5 feet right now ish. Some of those swells are wrapping around to shore. Winds right now at Avon out of the west northwest at 21 miles per hour. That's a pretty strong offshore flow. Air temperatures right now about 70 degrees, so very warm. Ocean water temperatures in the range of 59 degrees. Not as warm as it has been recently, but still warmer than for locations further north. You're still probably going to want to have your full suit and booties and gloves and hood on. Maybe taking the hood off depending on how resilient you are to those colder water temperatures. Weather conditions today, sunny, expected high of 70 degrees Fahrenheit and temperatures falling throughout the day. And then moving on south down to Buxton, we have our final observation. Waves at Buxton right now likely in the range of 2 to 3 feet. I've seen some observations at Buxton for taller waves, and this is mainly due to a south swell coming in. The swell is 8.5 feet coming in from like the southwest, but this is at a very high angle to the shore and are likely not translating to the coastline down there at Buxton. So I'm saying 2 to 3 foot with an asterisk, might be a little bit bigger if some of those high angle swells do line up. The swell coming in, the primary swell is coming in at 10 seconds out of the east, and that one's just 1 foot. A secondary swell, 14 seconds, and then we got a wind-blown swell at 9 seconds. This wind-blown swell is a remnant wind swell from the gale last night. And right now we've got strong winds. Those strong winds coming out of the west-northwest at 25 miles per hour will tend to take down that wind swell pretty quick. Air temperatures right now, 70 degrees Fahrenheit, ocean water 61 degrees. Right now it's sunny and expected high today of 70 degrees. We've already hit that, and temperatures are expected to fall throughout the day. And I'm just going to check just want to make sure my sound was functioning. Okay, so let's get into some of the longer range outlooks. We are expected to see the trough out west shift more and more to the east over the next 8 to 14 days. And this is going to dump cold, unstable air into the warmer than normal ocean waters of the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic. And this does have the potential to trigger some severe weather in the zone where those air masses come into conflict. And so we're a little bit on nor'easter watch here for the Outer Banks. But it is worth noting that in the 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook provided by the Climate Prediction Center, the zone of heavier weather appears to be focused on the western US and the Gulf Coast region, although here in the Outer Banks we might get clipped with some severe weather as that cold air mass gets driven down toward the south and east. This is in the 8 to 14 day time frame. So we're expecting to see that trough dig in deep, and that does mean that temperatures are likely to be cold here in the Outer Banks in mid-March, which is not a happy thing. Hopefully this won't last too long. And on the flip side, we will be looking for some potential for nor'easters. Looking at today's convective outlooks for severe storms, we don't really expect to see too much, maybe some storms down in Florida and a few storms out west, but nothing too crazy. And over the next few days, not looking too bad either with respect to severe weather. Now going to the global forecast system model provided by Tropical Tidbits, Levi Cohen, good friend of ours over at Tropical Tidbits. Levi's going to start working the tropical weather beat here in a few months. So we'll be talking about his stuff as he posts it over on the Twitters. And we're going to be doing a comprehensive tracking of tropical weather systems as the summer and well, spring and summer surf season approaches. But right now, what we're seeing is a strong low pressure system off of the US Northeast heading on off to the east, and another storm system coming in through the US West. I'm going to go ahead and advance this model so you guys can see what is expected to happen over the next few days. Here in the Outer Banks, it's expected to be clear through Monday, and really looks like on into Tuesday. We've got a storm system moving up through the Northeast on Tuesday, and continuation of stormy impulses hitting the west, primarily focused on Central California on northward. And then as we get into Wednesday, gets a little bit stormier here for the Outer Banks as a front sweeps through the US mid-Atlantic and southeast and then transfers its energy on offshore, with a storm just kind of heading offshore, but kind of a nor'easter-ish pattern, although not too stormy here for the Outer Banks for Wednesday of next week. And then a storm apparently trying to get its act together in the central US by Thursday and Friday. This storm looking pretty big and powerful as we get into Saturday. Earlier models showed this thing getting really strong. This time around doesn't look too crazy, but it does look rather large, meaning too crazy in the sense of the millibars. We're looking at more like a 990 millibar system as opposed to 970s, or even 960s. But this very broad system is expected to affect most of the eastern half of the US and then head on offshore by Tuesday. So a multi-day storm system, then heading on offshore by Tuesday. And got this huge front sweeping in, likely a very cold high pressure system moving in behind it, and then sinking down into the south as we get into Wednesday of the following week. And with those cold airs, wow, look at that big storm hitting the west coast in the model. Of course, this is model. This is a very long range model prediction, so we can take it with a big grain of salt as we get into Friday, not of this week, but of the following week. This is Friday, March 17th. Another large, very large front sweeping in association with that trough. Cold air, possible snows as far south as Virginia Beach and just west of the Outer Banks in this model. So we'll just have to keep an eye on things. That looks like a very cold storm system and a nor'easter low getting rather strong off of Maine and Massachusetts. And then at the tail end of the model, a very severe system developing in the Mississippi River Valley and then tracking on toward the east with a trailing low pressure system in the Gulf of Mexico, firing up in conjunction with some severe weather. And this to me looks like a potential for a nor'easter type system as the energy transfers offshore. Of course, this is Sunday, March 19th in the model. And so not anywhere near as accurate in this prediction, getting all the way out to March 20th. So we're in big grain of salt territory. Overall, it's worth noting that the potential for extreme nor'easters in this most recent model series is a lot less. We're not seeing as much in the way of severe nor'easters in this particular model run. So we're going to have to see how things progress as we get that cold air invasion slamming into those warmer than normal oceans that I talked about yesterday. And it is worth noting that the warmer than normal oceans are a fingerprint of climate crisis driven by fossil fuel burning, and that those warmer than normal oceans do provide added fuel for storms, particularly for cyclonic systems. And if you have a lot of cold and unstable air slamming into those warmer than normal waters and warmer, moisture than normal airs over those oceans, then you can get some potential for severe weather. All right, so let's get down to the wave models and look at what the waves are expected to do over the coming 5 days. So getting down, oh, here we go. Yeah, so right now I'm showing you the sea surface temperature anomaly map, and it's just crazy. The ocean water temperatures are nuts. I mean, if you get to the coastline, you get some upwelling and some fresh water here where there's a little bit of a cooler than normal thread. But as you get out into the ocean, the broader ocean is much warmer than normal. But let's get down to the wave models and look at the sea surface heights and the significant wave heights. And so right now in the near offshore environment of the Outer Banks, we've got that remnant swell coming in from the south and west following the gales from last night. So we've got 7, looks like, yeah, about 7 to 8 foot waves in the near offshore environment. These waves coming in from the south and heading on up to the north. And with the northwest winds blowing, that swell is going to get cut down over the course of the day. And then as we get into the day tomorrow, behind the storm system moving offshore, we're expecting to see some smaller waves in the range of 3 to 4 feet, but likely nicely formed waves coming in toward the east facing beaches. So tomorrow might actually be a pretty good day for surf. We'll have to see how those swells line up. This morning was surprisingly good. I didn't think it was going to be good. I was talking to a local last night who thought it was going to be good, and he ended up being right. So definitely a listen. I mean, I'm a local too, but I haven't been here but for what is it? 5 months. So I am still learning the ropes a little bit. All right, and then as we get into the day on Monday, we have a continuation of that swell coming in from the north and east in the 3 to 4 foot range, and then into Tuesday. Looks like let's look at the direction of the swell here. Looks like westerly winds. Yep, let's look at the winds here. This looks like a blown out swell. Yep. Okay. So as we get into the day on Wednesday, I believe I'm at Wednesday. Let's see. Sunday is the 5th, Monday, Tuesday. Okay, as we get into the day on Tuesday, we get some westerly winds blowing the surf out. So Wednesday might not be a very good day when it comes to waves with those. Looks like the swell is heading offshore. So we'll have to see, but Tuesday does not look like a very good day for waves. And then into Wednesday, the winds turn back around to the north, and we get apparently a rather large swell on Wednesday coming from the north. This looks like a stormy day. Yep. So strong winds out of the north coming in, and north and northwest coming in the near gale force range. A strong wind range and near gale force range, pushing up the swell to around 8 feet coming from the north. So this looks like a rough day on Wednesday. Depends on how those swells translate to the shore, but looking pretty rough there. And then let's see, do we have a Thursday? No, we do not have a Thursday. All right, so next 5 days looking pretty decent for the rest of today. Looking potentially pretty good for Sunday. And for Monday, looks like decent potential for waves. Tuesday might get blown out, and then Wednesday might be really rough with some strong northerly winds. All right, so thank you for joining me for the OBX wave report today. Waves are looking kind of fun. Temperatures are still warm. Maybe get out there and enjoy some small hollow swells. And tomorrow and Monday also looking relatively good as well. And as I conclude, I'm gonna do a little anecdote here. Had a friend send me an article, and I hear a lot of just chatter about just cars generally. And I do want to, so I do promote clean energy as a means to defend the coastlines. And clean energy, to be clean, means that it's not associated with fossil fuel burning. So if anyone says that, like, an efficient gas engine is clean, it's not. It's just a more efficient dirty engine. Um, And certainly it's good to have more efficient engines to reduce carbon emissions. But right now, we're in a situation that if we want to defend our coastlines from sea level rise and worsening storms, we need to shift from fossil fuel burning entirely to clean energy. And clean energy being wind, water, solar, and electric vehicles. These are the proven clean energy systems that work. And there's all sorts of kind of confusion and fuzz and just kind of weirdness coming out of your standard media um, over clean energy. And the weirdness is coming as a result of a reaction to a new thing, for one, and two, it's also coming out of an industry that has a vested interest, that being the fossil fuel industry, in slowing down the transition and that actively invests in promoting confusing narratives on the issue of clean energy. So just to be crystal clear, if anyone tells you that like, a gas vehicle is greener than an electric vehicle, then they're not telling you the truth. I mean, that's just facts. And they might parse it in a certain way. Like, say, for example, they might be comparing, you know, a Tesla in a coal burning state to like a hyper efficient, um, gas vehicle. But of course, the electric vehicle, you can always plug it into something other than coal. And so that electric vehicle will always be cleaner than a gas vehicle in a world that transitions to clean energy. And the gas vehicle is relying on legacy fossil fuels remaining in place to have that comparison. So it's a false frame argument to say that a gas vehicle is greener than an electric vehicle. All right, so yep, I might do a little segment on like electric vehicles and gas vehicles and all the arguments that are surrounding it. It is kind of a form of climate change denial to deny clean energy in this way, to like make these false comparisons as well. And there are a lot of people out there on the YouTubes and the interwebs that are making these false comparisons, and there are a lot of people in like pundits in media that make these false comparisons as well. But just to be crystal clear, the way we get out of the climate crisis is a transition to clean energy. And clean energy is wind, water, solar, electric vehicles. And those are the proven sources. That's the center of gravity. That's how you get to net zero emissions. You transition that way, and we can do it. There's a lot of naysayers, a lot of people who say, "Oh no, it's too hard." I've been driving an electric vehicle for 4 years. It's no skin off my back, and I'm no great manager of time or like great organizer. I mean, the planning involved for me for an EV is pretty easy if you can manage to charge your cell phone and you can charge your electric vehicle. So in any case, thank you for joining me for this session of the OBX Wave Report. Love all you guys. And yeah, I appreciate all you guys. And no judgment or shame on any individuals, just facts.